Hi there. Here's the second installment of The Phantom Coach. And this, I might get it all read today, I'm not sure. His inquiries related chiefly to scientific matters, with the later progress of which, as applied to the practical purposes of life, he was almost wholly unacquainted. No student of science myself, I replied as well as my slight information permitted, but the task was far from easy, and I was much relieved when, passing from interrogation to discussion, he began pouring forth his own conclusions upon the facts which I had been attempting to place before him. He talked, and I listened spellbound. He talked till I believe he almost forgot my presence, and only thought aloud. I'd never heard anything like it then. I've never heard anything like it then. I have never heard anything like it since. Familiar with all systems of all philosophies, subtle in analysis, bold in generalization, he poured forth his thoughts in an uninterrupted stream, and still leaning forward in the same moody attitude, with his eyes fixed upon the fire, wandered from topic to topic, from speculation to speculation, like an inspired dreamer, from practical science to mental philosophy, from electricity in the wire to electricity in the nerve, from Watts to Mesmer, and from Mesmer to Reichenbach, from Reichenbach to Swedenborg, Spinoza, Condillac, I guess these are all scientists, Descartes, Berkeley, Aristotle, Plato, and the Magi and mystics of the East were transitions which, however bewildering in their variety and scope, seemed easy and harmonious enough upon his lips as sequences in music. By and by, I forgot now by what link of conjecture or illustration he passed on to that field which lies beyond the boundary line of even conjectured philosophy, and reaches no man knows whither. He spoke of the soul and its aspirations, of the spirit and its power, of second sight, of prophecy, of those phenomena which, under the names of ghosts, specters, and supernatural appearance, had been denied by the skeptics and attested by the credulous skeptics. Oh, Lordy. Skeptics and attested by the credulous of all ages. The world, he said, grows hourly more and more skeptical of all that lies beyond its own narrow radius, and our men of science foster the fatal tendency. They condemn as fable all that resists experiment. They reject as false all that cannot be brought to the test of the laboratory or the dissecting room. Against what superstition have they waged so long and obstinate a war as against the belief in apparitions? And yet, what superstition has maintained its hold upon the minds of men so long and so firmly? Show me any fact in physics, in history, and archaeology which is supported by testimony so wide and so various, attested by all races of men, all ages of life, and in all climates, by the soberest rages by the soberest sages of antiquity, by the rudest savage of today, by the Christian, the pagan, the pantheist, the materialist. The phenomenon is treated as a nursery tale by the philosophers of our century. Circumstantial evidence weighs with them as feather in the balance. The comparisons and causes with effect, however valuable, in physical science put aside as worthless and unreliable. The evidence of competent witnesses, however conclusive in a court of justice counts for nothing. He who pauses before he pronounces is condemned as a trifler. He who believes is a dreamer or a fool. He spoke with bitterness, and having said this, relapsed for some minutes into silence. Presently he raised his head from the bowl and added with an altered voice and manner, "I, sir," paused, investigated, believed, and was not ashamed to say so. To state my convictions to the world. I too was branded as a visionary, held up to ridicule by my contemporaries, and hosted from that field of science in which I had labored with honor during all the best years of my life. Those things happened just 23 years ago. Since then I have loved as you see me living now, and I have lived as you see me living now, and the world has forgotten me, as I have forgotten the world. You have my history. It's a very sad one, I murmured, scarcely knowing what to answer. It's a very common one, he replied. I have only suffered for the truth, as many a better and wiser man has suffered before me. He rose as if desirous of ending the conversation, and went over to the window. It ceased snowing, he observed as he dropped the curtain and came back to the fireside. Ceased? I exclaimed, only staring at my feet. Oh, if it were only possible, but no. It is hopeless. Even if I could find my way across the moor, I could not walk 20 miles tonight. Walk 20 miles tonight, repeated my host. What are you thinking of? Of my wife, I replied impatiently. Of my young wife, who does not know that I have lost my way, and who is at this moment breaking her heart with suspense and terror. Where is she? At Dwalding, 20 miles away. Dwalding. At Dwalding, he echoed thoughtfully. Yes, the distance, it is true, 20 miles. But are you so very anxious to save the next 6 or 7 hours? So very, very anxious that I would give 10 guineas at this moment for a guide and a horse. Your wish can be granted at a less rate, said he, smiling. The night mail from the north, which changes horses at Dwalding, pauses within the first miles of the spot, and there will be due at a certain crossroad, and will be due at a certain crossroad in about an hour and a quarter. If Jacob were to go with you across the moor and put you into the old coach road, you could find your way, I suppose, to where it joins the new one? Easily, gladly. He smiled again, rang the bell, gave the old servant his directions, and taking a bottle of whiskey and a wine glass from the cupboard in which he kept his chemicals, said, "The snow is deep, and it will be difficult walking the night on the moor. A glass of usquebaugh before you start?" I would have declined the spirit, but he pressed it on me, and I drank it. It went down my throat like liquid flame, and almost shook my every breath away. It is strong, he said, but it will help to keep out the cold, and now you have no moments to spare. Good night. I thanked him for his hospitality and would have shaken hands had he not turned away before I could finish my sentence. In another minute, yes, in another minute, I had traversed the hall. Jacob had locked the door behind me, and we were on the wide moor. Wide, white moor. Although the wind had fallen, it was still bitterly cold. A star glimmered in the black vault overhead. Excuse me. Not a sound save the rapid crunching of the snow beneath our feet disturbed the heavy stillness of the night. Jacob, too well pleased with his mission, shamed on for being in sullen silence, his lantern in his hand, and his shadow at his feet. This is such tiny print, y'all. I'm sorry. I followed with my gun over my shoulder, and I can blow it up, but then a lot of it goes away. Let's see. My thoughts are full of my late host. His voice yet rang in my ears. His eloquence yet held my imagination captive. I remember to this day my surprise, how my very overexcited brain retained whole sentences and parts of sentences, troops of brilliant images and fragments of squealed reasoning in the very worth in which he just uttered them. Musing thus over what I had heard, and striving to recall a lost link here and there, I strode on the heads of my guide, absorbed and unobservant. Presently, at the end, as it seemed to me, of only a few minutes, he came to a sudden halt and said, "Yon's your road. Keep the stone fence to your right hand, and you can't fail of the way. This then is the old coach road. Is the old coach road. And how far do I go before I reach the crossroads? Nigh upon 3 mile." I pulled out my purse, and he became more communicative. Oh, Lordy, I'm so sleepy. I'm sorry. "The road's a fair enough road," said he, "for foot passengers." For foot passengers. But 'twas over steep and narrow for the earthen traffic. You'll mind where the parapet's broken away. Close again the sign out. It's never been mended since the accident. What accident? The night mail pitched right over into the valley below a groove 50 feet and more, just at worst bit of road in the whole county. Horrible. Were many lives lost? All 4 were found dead, and the other 2 died next morning. How long is it since this happened? Just 9 years. Near the signpost, you say. I will bear it in mind. Good night. Good night, sir, and thank ye. Jacob pocketed his half-crown, making a faint presence of touching his hair and trudged back by the way he had come. I'm sorry, y'all. I know it's only 15 minutes, but this reading is just terrible, I know. Because I'm about to close my eyes for good. Okie dokie, so I'll read some more tomorrow, and I'll have to, what did I say last? Trudged back the way he had come. Trying to get this bookmark. No, I don't want to do that. Well, I'll do that after I let y'all go. Live at tea at 3 today. So I hope to see you. It'll just be me. StreamYard was yesterday, and I am so sorry to Miss Karen, Yarn Addict. I wanted to get you back up. I feel like I talked over you, but you were having a little glitch with your video and audio. I didn't mean to get the other people up. That was fine, but I wanted to get you back up. So hopefully next Saturday I'll get you back up and I'll shut up and let you talk. Anyway, I just want to apologize to Miss Karen, a Yarn Addict. Love to you all and hope to see you at 3. I'm going to take a nap. Be sweet, don't be ugly. Bye-bye.